Hey, it's Renee from the Craft Table. Welcome to week 3 of this Summer Embroidery Stitch Along. We are going to be discussing the Lazy Daisy stitch, which I did right here.
Here is another example of where I have stitched the Lazy Daisy stitch. This is a practice piece where I was playing around with different thread colors. I stitched it on those oval shapes. You can see right here. That's what I'm going to do. But here's the other example that I did as well. Added some French knots, which we'll go over in a future lesson. But the Lazy Daisy stitch is a really fun, versatile stitch. I would stitch it in any area where you want to make a flower petal. Here I'm going to be using EZ2117, which is out of the Sun box collection of Allison Glass, pearl cotton, weight 8. I've threaded my needle and put a knot at the end of my thread, and I'm just going to demonstrate on this circle of flower petals. I'm going to bring my needle up from the back at the base of the petal where I want my first shape, pulling the needle on the thread all the way to the top. Then I'm going to take my needle back down exactly where I came up, that same hole, and then pull the thread to the back. But before I pull the thread all the way to the back, I'm going to make sure I have a loop on the top, and then I'm going to bring my needle up inside that loop at the top of where I want my shape to end. So I've put it at the top of that petal shape, and then I'm pulling my needle and thread taut, but kind of positioning it in such a way, you can adjust the tension so you get the shape that you want. And then the needle is going to go over that little loop, and you're going to pull it to the back, and that is going to secure your Lazy Daisy stitch. So, and then I'm just going to go to the next one and do the same thing, pulling my thread to the top, placing my needle back down in the same hole, and then pulling it, taking it to the back, but not pulling it all the way through, bringing the needle back up again at the top of my shape, but making sure I have that loop formed. The needle needs to be inside that loop before I pull the thread. And then again, just sort of adjusting the thread so that it covers the shape that I want, and then taking my needle over that loop to the back of my fabric to secure it. Now, that is one method. I call it the stab and stitch method. I'm going to demonstrate a different one. So again, I'm going to pull my needle up to the back, placing my needle back down in that same hole. But then instead of taking it to the back, I'm going to bring it back up to the top all in one motion, making sure I loop that thread behind the needle. That's what's going to form that loop when I pull my needle through. Same stitch, just doing it in a shorter, step, and then taking my needle again over that loop to the back. And I'm just going to keep doing that each shape. This, what I call stab and stitch motion, I will do that if my fabric is a little bit thicker, like it is here, since I have my fabric lined with another piece of fabric. The stab stitch method is just a little bit easier than that, what I call the rocking method, which is what I did on the third stitch, where I kind of brought my needle up, went down, and then back up at the top of the petal, all in one motion. That's how I really prefer to do my stitch, but that's easier to do if your fabric's not lined, or the fabric's lighter, or, just try both methods and see what works best for you. But I hope you enjoy doing the stitch. I think it's a fun one, and it's something that we're going to build on next week when we do the chain stitch. But you can see I'm also doing the outer petals as well. And then I'll go back when we get to the week for the French knots. I'll go back and on those circles in between the petals, I will do French knots in that shape. But yeah, so that is the Lazy Daisy stitch, also known as the detached chain stitch. Other places you might want to stitch on your panel, anywhere where you see an oval. This other area has pretty much the same design, just slightly different. You have these sort of pointy oval shapes. You could stitch that in that place as well. Inside the butterfly wings, there's some places that lend itself to the Lazy Daisy stitch. So just have fun with it, and I'll see you next time when we do the chain stitch. Happy stitching!